So last week, everyone's hot up in arms about the bloke who decides not to stand on the podium with the apparent Chinese drug cheat. Only problem is, surprise, surprise, just like Australian cricket that was oh so sanctimonious about when anyone else was caught ball tampering, when you get caught doing the wrong thing, it's just a misunderstanding. Hang on. Now, I understand about how the Chinese swim team has been at almost an industrial level for a very long time. But at the very same time as we were out there telling everyone that we were better than sliced bread, well, guess what? Somebody had failed a drug test. Have a look here. This is the statement from the swimmer involved, Shayna Jack. I didn't intentionally take this substance. I didn't even know it was in my system. I did not and would not cheat and would continue to fight to clear my name. A grab from Swimming Australia and what they had to say when there was more than a bit of egg on their face after some of the sanctimony of the past week.
I think that Mac has made a stand for something that he truly believes in, and I think we actually have the same stance. We absolutely do not want drugs in our sport. I think that Mac made a stance that he absolutely is comfortable with and would be comfortable with that today.
And when Channel 2 put a camera in front of the bloke who refused to get on the stand, on the podium, guess what? Nothing, silence, stonewall. I believe in hard stance about drug policy, except maybe when accidentally, unintentionally, or we'll find out it's an Australian. Adam, I know that, my green and gold blood is supposed to say Australians can do no wrong. I certainly hope that this is inadvertent. I certainly hope that this was unintentional. I certainly hope that second tests will come back and be fine. But let's get to the real deal here. Swimming Australia sent this person home and said they were going home for personal reasons. Bullshit. It was because they'd failed a drug test.
Well, that's right, and Swimming Australia need to take some responsibility here because they've certainly let Mac get hung out to dry with the comments that he's made, because he made those comments at a time when he knew that that first test and the second test, the A and the B test, had come back positive, and they allowed him to make those comments and said nothing, and then allowed the captain over in South Korea to publicly comment without them getting involved, and now there's certainly egg on the face. And for the ABC cameraman to then, the ABC reporter to put a microphone under the nose of Mac, I'm assuming, or I think I'd be quite right in saying that Swimming Australia have told him to say nothing. So the poor bloke's left hung out to dry. I think he needs to take the same stance he took over Sun and come out and attack his own Australian colleague. And whether or not it's inadvertent or not, it's the same rules, it's the same principles and the same guidelines. So we need to remove any level of hypocrisy. But interestingly, just on a final note, I was talking to some people today and they said, wasn't it good that this was picked up by an Australian doping agency and reported and followed through thoroughly, rather than being allowed to try and be swept under the carpet and leave this young girl in the swim team. So I think it's a positive from the regulator. But Swimming Australia needs to get a good slap on the knuckles for what it's done to Mac. Oh, absolutely. Mick Carroll and the Sunday Telegraph team in particular, they went as hard as possible today, and rightly so after all of this. Mac Horton apparently has released some sort of a statement. I think this comes via Channel 7, which is there's a vision of him being asked questions by Channel 2. He wasn't answering. However, he said, I applaud the decision to immediately withdraw the athlete in question from further competition until this matter is resolved. No. Kristy, the point is they weren't being withdrawn and withdrawn publicly because they'd failed a drug test. They were being sent home for personal reasons. Somebody's going to have to swing for this, and if it's not going to be the athlete because either second samples or a wider investigation proves that there's nothing wrong here, you can't say somebody's being sent home for personal reasons when they're actually being sent home because they'd failed a drug test.
This is a public relations and political stuff-up of epic proportions for Swimming Australia. First of all, just on a basic PR level, what was Mac Horton doing in a position where he could have a microphone stuck in front of him in the first place? Get him out of there. That is just absolutely a no-go for anyone who manages the PR of Swimming Australia. Secondly, there was some talk that this is a semi-diplomatic incident with the Chinese when he didn't stand on the podium. Now we have done it and we're in the same boat. It doesn't bode well for Swimming Australia's funding applications, more money into sport to raise the percentage of funds that they get for swimming at the AIS. Now that they have done this and plus have embroiled us in a diplomatic incident with the Chinese as well, it is really, really bad for Swimming Australia in Canberra, let alone, from a PR level.